What is up there, SEO pros? Alright guys, so as some of you may know, Google just came out with a how to hire an SEO video, which I would think they would have this already, but apparently this is something that had to be done. And we got a couple really cool things out of this video. I'm going to say the things that I noticed that were really good first, and then the things that I kind of noticed that I was like, I don't know about that. So the first thing that was really cool was this step-by-step two-way interview they were talking about. And here, I'll just read it off to you. So one, you're going to basically ask what makes your business content and or service unique and therefore valuable to customers. So the unique offer, the qualifiers that you're going to be putting maybe in your titles, what makes them stand out from their other businesses so that you can start really differentiating them with their different offers that they have, which means really more content for the website and basically the ability to kind of expand on just what everybody else puts on their website. The other thing that you're going to be wanting to ask, according to Google, is what does your common customer look like? How do they currently find your website? So this is just more diving into what the customers actually think their your clients or the people you're going to be auditing, what their customers look like. Now you can find this out, and Maile kind of hints at this. Unless it's really hard to figure this stuff out without asking. So you want to be careful when people say that they're just going to do your SEO without asking these certain questions. But in certain scenarios where if you're really good at SEO and you have the analytics and you understand this keyword research and maybe you understand a little bit about the niche, you should be able to figure out what their customers look like through analytics in their demographics. Now, assuming they don't have any customers, then it's a little bit harder. But some of that stuff you can figure out. But I do completely agree with that. That is a question that you should find out if you don't know. And it's even good just to kind of have your potential clients reiterate what their customers are going to look like, right? So that they also can kind of get an idea on what they're going into. So it's in some cases, it's even better just to ask these questions just so that the customers can qualify themselves. So next we got the big jug of water. And we got number 3, how does your business make money and how can search help? So this is really understanding the main conversion points for your customers. Where are they getting the most money from in what certain categories? So for instance, if you're going to be doing SEO for a computer repair business, maybe they get most of their money from virus removal. So you really want to heavily promote those as your main keywords. Make sure that your silos are really pointing towards those virus removal queries, and trying to rank for that first before maybe the less important queries where your conversion values and your ROIs aren't going to be as high. Number 4, what other channels are you using? Offline advertising, social networks. So this is good for you to understand what kind of branding they're currently doing, what they're doing for their search engine marketing possibly. This is good because a lot of this stuff comes hand in hand with SEO these days because there's all these different channels around SEO that help contribute to SEO. So it is important to know these things. And then 5, who are your competitors? What do they do well online and offline? And a lot of the times, I don't really see my clients potentially knowing what their competitors do well online. So I might rephrase that question as, what do your competitors do well online that you know? If you don't know, then we can do the research for you because that's also something that you should be able to find out as an SEO. And then potentially offline, that is something that would be good to know, perhaps what they are seeing for their actual businesses offline, what these people are doing for their marketing that might correlate to something online. So another thing that I saw, and this isn't in any particular order, but she mentioned what your audit structure should look like. So she's saying that the process for these things is, I think it's right here. Oh, maybe I lost it. No, I think she might have just said it. So what she says is that you should, in most cases, when hiring an SEO, you should look at their reviews, look at their references, and then one other thing, which was kind of the crazy thing to me, we won't get to that yet, but then you should have them do an audit and kind of explain the top things that can be fixed, kind of like what we do in our videos. And if you guys haven't seen the audits we do in our videos, I'll leave a link to one of our case studies where we did an audit. We did 3.5 hours of implementation, and then we saw huge growth after implementing the top 10 things I listed in that list. And I even provide these lists and checklists that you can download on my website. I even just did a 5,000 word white hat SEO technique article that's underutilized strategies that I don't see a lot of people using. And I have a huge checklist for those. I'll leave that in the description as well if you want to go check it out. Either way, audit structure. She says there's two types of audits. There's the technical audit and then the, the search audit. So the technical audit, and actually let me read what this says. So audit structure. So the SEO should prioritize improvements with a structure like 1, the issue, 2, the suggested improvement. So these are the different issues you're going to find throughout your audits, like we find in all of our audits. 2, the suggested improvement. So what you can do to actually fix that. So you basically just list the issue, and then you don't have to necessarily say the suggested improvement for all of the specific things. Some of that should be implied. Like for instance, if you need to do schema markup for local business, the issue is that it's not there, then the suggested improvement would be implied that you need that. Next, you got, well, and then also let me just add, if there's like something like a title tag change, you could put a suggested improvement like we just did in our recent audit with the tree company, because those are good things that you can show, oh, this is what we would suggest as a title. 3, an estimation on the overall net investment. So that's why I always put on all of my audits the amount of time it's going to take to fix these things, and then I tell them my hourly rate, and that's how I do it. Some people do it other ways by packaging it, selling retainers. I just do it right now hourly. I might find a better method in the future, but that's what's working for me. Next, we got 4, estimated positive business impact. So these are some things that you can actually say in the audits that you're doing or in the notes that you're taking. You can say, for instance, we just did that implementation for that one website, and we realized that even though the organic traffic was going up, there's some other things that we need to be able to see. Like for instance, the conversion tracking on the specific products. We need to be able to add schema product review markup to their different products so that we can get the schema results. And I showed them what that looked like with the testimonial page we marked up. So it's important to show what could be the potential impact of these things and then explain them on the way. Like for instance, if you have schema aggregate rating on your search results, the click-throughs are likely going to be higher, which means that you're probably going to get more traffic for those queries and then hopefully more conversions because people can see that there's reviews there. But in other scenarios, you might not want to say all of this stuff to your clients because you might overwhelm them. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. There are certain situations where saying all of this stuff might actually overwhelm people. So I agree with Google in the sense that you want to discuss with the estimated positive business impact, the overall investment, all these things. But when the client starts seeming overwhelmed, you want to dial it back a little bit because that does happen a lot. Google tries to make this stuff seem really straightforward and simplified, but a lot of the time when you're talking, people think you're speaking Chinese. So it's really good to clearly communicate the top, X things that you can fix and not overwhelm these people with too much information. Okay, number 5, plan of how to iterate and improve all on the implementation or on how to experiment and fail fast should results not meet expectations. So that's funny. So Google's saying, hey, even we know as SEOs, it's not always possible for you to provide, the best possible, SEO in every situation. You might fail in some of these situations. So that's kind of one of those disclaimers. But in terms of planning on how to iterate and improve on the implementation, that seems more of an internal process. I think just simply by listing the things that need to be fixed and then saying those are the things that we want to fix as the top 10 things, I think that should be good enough to move forward. And then you'll see the 2 different types of audits they mentioned. First, we'll start with the technical audit. In the technical audit, you'll see they say review your site for issues related to internal linking, which they've mentioned twice in here. So this is something that's really important that they're really pushing right now. Internal linking. And this is one of the things that I say even in my White Hat SEO article that I just wrote that's like 5,000 words. You really need to focus on your on-page internal linking and site structure and silo infrastructure. If you can't get that down, Google, even though you might get lots of links coming in from high authority sources, having that internal link structure is extremely valuable to Google. Also, having a site that's crawled in an efficient way so that you're not indexing a bunch of duplicate content or thin content pages. So that's what crawlability is. And then, they also just came out with a post on crawl rate on crawl budget and how to optimize for that as well. URL parameters. So that means, using the correct URL parameters. Like for instance, if you're going to be doing a blog, your permalink structure or your URL structure, if you're not using WordPress, should be blog / category / post name, because that's what makes sense in the architecture. So you really want to make sure you're doing these different things and not doing crazy URL structures with 50 words in the file URLs. We could go into a whole other thing for that too. Server connectivity, basically getting good hosting. I use WP Engine. If you guys want a discount for WP Engine, I have a link on my site that you can use. It also gives me a kickback too. And then response codes, understanding what the different things that are happening on the site, like for instance 301s, if you're linking to 301s internally, if you have 404s, if there's 503 server errors, you want to make sure all that stuff is figured out. So next we have the search audit. And this is basically just a breakdown of branded versus unbranded queries. And Maile kind of explains what these two different things are about. So for instance, if your homepage is going to be your brand, which it usually is, I don't know why it wouldn't be, you want to make sure that you're showing up for your branded queries. Like for instance, your brand plus your product, your brand plus your videos, your brand plus your whatever. And then also on your unbranded queries, you want to make sure that you're doing the correct optimizations, and even Maile says this, in a correct way, explaining them in a correct way with your different elements like your title tags. So after that, she talks about unbranded versus the general keyword improvement ideas, and you'll see for the unbranded keywords that we were just talking about, they list two things. Two things, that's it. And they say update obsolete content and improve internal linking. So we know those two things are huge. So, I mean, that's pretty straightforward, and that's something that we can all agree on. Nobody wants to see obsolete content, and Google wants to see that you're constantly updating your site, and they even crawl your site more if you update it more frequently. And then also improve your internal linking, making sure that you show Google what your important pages are on your site, not just by doing links in your blogs, but actually making sure that your site architecture makes sense, that your homepage is an overview of the other parts of the site that you can get to that are also important, and then those category levels down or file path levels down are also linking to the other important areas of your site. Okay, so those are the things I agree with. I think they're really awesome. Well, there was a couple things I kind of didn't agree with. Now, one of the things that she says in the very beginning is to request that your clients corroborate their recommendation or the recommendation that you give them with a documented statement from Google, either in the Help Center article, video, or Google response in a form that supports both the SEO's description of the issue that needs to be improved to help with ranking, the approach they prescribe to accomplishing this task. Now, I don't know about you, but anytime I've reached out to Google, I have had the hardest time getting a response. So I'm sure probably in the response in the Help Center or something, is probably an easier way to get a response. But you have to think your audits, if it's like 1,000 or 1,000,000 page website, and you list like, close to 100 different things that need to be fixed, and then the ways that you want to proceed implementing all these things, I would never like try to wait for Google, with a brand new person who's trying to get an audit and move forward with their site, do this. So I think this is kind of one of those fallback things. I just don't know. I really don't believe that people should do this before moving forward with an SEO. I think it is important to really screen your SEO, but this just seems crazy to me. Now, the next thing you'll see is Maile recommends for local business owners, you can do the initial work yourself. And I got this picture to kind of explain what I've seen when people start doing SEO work themselves, even just on Google My Business. So you can see the house is on fire, and then there I am right here putting out that fire. Um, so I really don't think, like, I've looked at these videos and I even watched this video. The other thing is, I don't know why Google would link right here without a clickable link in the video, not even put an annotation, and not link in the description as well. That's crazy to me. These videos, they're like, you know, probably I think 30 minutes each or something for all these different industries. And if I'm going to an SEO, you know, whether I know SEO or not, I'm probably not wanting to do it myself. So a lot of these people, I don't know if they'd want to do it themselves, and then kind of telling them, hey, you can do this yourselves is kind of like one of those like ways to say, well, you know, this is like something that doesn't really matter whether you do it or whether somebody else does it. And I don't think that's true at all, because there's definitely a correct way to do these things. I don't want the clients building their own citations. I don't want the clients, you know, doing their own on page. I don't want the clients doing their own, you know, whatever they're going to be doing in terms of like local snack pack optimizations, because that just seems crazy to me. But I think the reason why they did this is because they're trying to make it easy for people to do this themselves. But most people hiring SEOs really don't want to do this work. And I feel like by telling them that they can do this stuff themselves is probably going to end up with a situation like this in the long run. So either way, that's pretty much it for the video. If you guys agree or disagree on any of the points that I made, let me know. I'd love to have a discussion with you about it. But that's pretty much it. So if you'd like to join the Facebook group that we're in, and you haven't seen these videos before, just text the number or text the word SEO to 66866. It'll ask you for an email. You just reply with your email, and then it'll send you a link to the Facebook group. You can go ahead and join. And then also by replying with your email, you opt in to my mailing list, where I send exclusive offers and updates on things that you won't get anywhere else. So until next time, happy SEOing.